Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished participants, partners from the AfCFTA Secretariat and American University in Cairo, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon once again. It's 12 p.m. Cairo time, and I'm aware there are participants from other countries who are on different time zones from Egypt. So I say a very good day to you all. My name is Egosa Onaiwu. I work with the Trade Intelligence Solutions team at AfCFTA Bank, and I'm your moderator for today's information webinar. Let me start again by welcoming you to this very important information web session and webinar jointly organized by AfCFTA Bank in partnership with the AfCFTA Secretariat and the American University in Cairo, AUC. The focus of this event is to provide more information on the capacity development program, on the AfCFTA, its genesis, its dimensions, and its prospects for African corporates. This year's edition of the training is really the third in the series, and it will be holding in Cairo from June 16 to June 18. So in about a month and a half's time. And it follows the success of the first two editions. The first one was held in Cairo in September 2024, and the last edition was held in Abuja in June last year. For this information webinar, the objectives include, firstly, to offer an overview of the delivery approach for the training program, then to provide a walkthrough of what the modules that will be covered throughout the 3 days of the program, and also to address any questions or concerns related to the training content and as well as the logistics. The agenda for the webinar will start by having welcome remarks by Dr. Anand Shandy, then a presentation from Mr. Chidi Leka on the background and context of the training program. Then we have a presentation on the details of the program design by Ambassador Dr. Mohamed Kader. We'll then have a session with one of the participants from the last edition of the training in Abuja, where he will talk about his experience, motivations for the training, and this will be followed by a Q&A session. We've already received some questions, and we really want this to be quite interactive. Finally, we have the closing remarks and the call to action by Mr. Simeon Balogun. So without further ado, I would like us to commence this session by having the opening remarks by Dr. Anand Shandy. Over to you, Dr. Anand.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Anand Shandy. I speak to you on behalf of AfCFTA Bank Academy, AfriCAD. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to today's information webinar about our training program entitled Genesis Dimensions, Prospects of AfCFTA Agreement for African Corporates. Let's give you like a brief introduction about the Academy. So AfCFTA Bank Academy is the learning and capacity building arm for AfCFTA Bank. Our slogan is Africa's Trade Knowledge Hub. We are dedicated to equipping professionals like yourself across the continent and even in diaspora with the strategic, operational, and leadership skills needed to drive intra-African trade and economic integration. Our mission is to empower the current and the next generation of African leaders with cutting-edge knowledge and practical tools that reflect the realities and aspirations of a thriving global Africa. So as you can see, our vision is derived from the bank's AfCFTA Bank Group's vision, which is to transform trade through capacity building, networking, and learning opportunities. As it's shown in the diagram, we are serving different stakeholders like yourselves, external candidates. We work with sovereign parastatals, corporates, financial institutions, educational institutions alike or different. So these collaborations, and through them, we maintain all the time providing different learning solutions across different 5 pillars, as you can see. So we have trade project finance, we have industrial capacity learning solutions, innovation in trade, professional and leadership skills, in addition to the trade language. What's special about AfriCAD is that we are not just delivering information and having a certificate by the end of the program. You will always network and share your experiences with your colleagues through our blogs and our social spaces on AfrEximBank Academy's external portal. I will share with you a link where you can register and even find the recording for today's webinar as well. Across the board, we are maintaining blended learning methodology of delivery of programs. So you will find a mixture of physically delivered programs like ours, like this year's AfCFTA program, and different other flagship programs, like for instance, COTFIA. It's a blended learning program where you will have self-paced tracks that you can just do it on your pace. In addition to instructor-led sessions and physically attended sessions as well. So you can just go there, register, and look at all of our learning solutions opportunities. Next, please, next slide. So I need to show you a brief video about AfrEximBank Academy to give you a nutshell of who we are. And after that, we're gonna start our session today about the AfCFTA program. Thank you.
The baobab, tree of knowledge, tree of life, symbolic of Africa's richness of wisdom through the ages, spreading roots across the continent, a timeless foundation to anchor, enrich and inspire each generation, and the inspiration for the AfrEximBank Academy, AfriCAD, the Africa Trade Knowledge Hub. Established to advance African talent across our stakeholder groups, including corporates and SMEs, sovereigns and parastatals, financial and educational institutions, and AfrEximBank staff. AfriCAD strives to build the capacity of Africa and Africans in all trade-related matters, enhance knowledge and skills in trade finance across the continent, create a center of excellence to facilitate knowledge transfer, best practice, research, collaboration, better connection among the bank's internal and external stakeholders, and improve stakeholders' ability to support the bank's mandate of transforming Africa's trade. Ultimately, AfriCAD is the go-to hub for Afrocentric trade knowledge, helping to unlock trade development opportunities across the continent. The Academy provides high-impact learning solutions in trade and project finance, industrial capacity, innovation, professional development and leadership, trade language, and knowledge and networking, helping to rapidly digitize the future of Africa and improve the trade environment by promoting knowledge of trade and commodity finance, risk-based financing, robust and transparent product standards, access to financing, sustainable business practices, and by embracing cultural and language differences, expanding the knowledge of trade agency professionals, as well as automating, digitizing, and instigating innovation. Learning is delivered using the hybrid approach, combining physical locations and digital channels to maximum effect for a fully immersive AfriCAD learning experience. Discover how you can start leveraging the AfrEximBank Academy today at www.africad.com. AfrEximBank Academy, the Africa Trade Knowledge Hub.
So, as I said at the beginning, if you need the recording for today's session, to register for the program, and to see the other programs available in AfrEximBank Academy's portal, I shared with you a link over the chat box. You can have it and check it during the session and even beyond it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Annan. Yes, I just want to, before we go to the next section, if you have any questions as we go along, please drop them in the Q&A area. I see there is already a question there about translation of this webinar in French. This webinar actually is only in English, but the training itself will be delivered in English and French. And my colleagues will talk more about this later. For the next section on the background and context of the genesis, dimension, and prospect of the AfCFTA for African corporates, we have Mr. Chidi Leka, who's a senior advisor with AfrEximBank and also working closely at the AfCFTA Secretariat. Over to you, Mr. Chidi Leka.
Thank you very much, Ehosa, and good morning, everyone. I hope it's morning where you are. Happy to be here. Yes, next slide, please. So I will take us through the background. I have a few slides. In the interest of time, I will not be going into the details of all the slides. I will just deliver the key messages. But essentially, the AfCFTA is not going to be, it must be implemented by corporates. It is corporates that will deliver the promises. So if you go back to the first slide, it's an introduction of AfCFTA, which is publicly available. Everything here is publicly available, but I think it's still important to harp on the mission because that helps you understand why we do what we do to stimulate a consistent expansion and diversification of African trade. We're a multilateral institution. It is totally, if you look at the shareholding, it's African, totally African, and we are headquartered in Cairo. With rep offices in all the regions of the African Union, with one other office in Barbados, because we are thinking global African. The credit rating is very important because it shows a very low default probability. It is a safe institution it's a safe issuer. And this is important because we need to be financially strong and stable to do what we're doing for Africa and to stand up against, to stand up beside anybody in the international market. Then here, one of the key things to note here is that when a survey was done by PathTrack of CEOs and African corporates, the number of people who are not aware of the AfCFTA or who are aware but haven't made plans, haven't really looked at it in terms of what benefits they can get is quite a lot. Because like I said at the beginning, it is highly unlikely that we are going to succeed with integrating this continent without the private sector leading it. Ultimately, private sector needs to understand it, see where the opportunities are, invest in those opportunities that will help us trade more with ourselves and bring on an era of prosperity. That is a key message here. We'll go to the next one. So it is because of this, the need to pull private sector players in that the AfCFTA, the bank, the AfCFTA Secretariat, and the AUC designed this special training with the core objectives of deepening the knowledge of participating African businesses to enhance understanding of all the sections of the agreement, let participants understand more about trade and investment within the AfCFTA context, know the risks, know how to diversify, move into new markets and all the rest of that. And then to make sure that corporates are able to comfortably navigate the rules and procedures, because these are the things that will create the common benefits and the particular benefits of those who participate. This training is also going to provide a channel to guide the existing and potential exporters of goods on the developments and business opportunities in Africa under the AfCFTA. So the key thing here is this need was identified. But now coming to this, I think I will spend quite a bit of time here because this is the reason why I think that every African corporate of note must attend this training to understand what it is we are trying to do and to be involved in conversations about what else may need to be done for us to make progress. So the Intra-African trade strategy is built on 3 pillars. The first pillar is we need to create optimal capacity for production in the continent. And in response to that gap, AfCFTA has a lot of interventions and financing programs, from industrial parks to agro-processing, export promotion zones, processing zones, the special export zones, project finance facility, guarantee programs, export agriculture for food security. There's a whole lot of interventions and programs and facilities the bank has put in place in response to the need to create optimal production capacity. Now, corporates need to know about this because when they do, it can guide them to new investments or to opportunities to scale their investment. So it's in the problems we are trying to solve that corporates see opportunities. Now, even if you produce all the best goods in the world and you can't deliver them to the end users, you still have a problem. And yes, we agree, we have a problem of disaggregated distribution channels in the continent. So we need to build distribution distribution assets. Again, in response, there are a lot of things that go into this, from the transit guarantee, the AfCFTA collaborative transit guarantee, which kind of intends to use one electronic bond for the movement of goods across borders, across several borders in the continent for ease of passage, right? The export trading company strategy, the African Trade and Distribution Company, the Afreximbank quality assurance centers, because of course, harmonization of standards is one non-technical barrier to trade. So border markets, merchant marine for vessels, and even the integration of the African skies, which is the initiative that SATAM is chasing. Corporates need to know this, because you need to know what to leverage based on all these interventions to make the movement of your goods or services across the continent easier. Or maybe you find opportunity in investing in distribution assets themselves. Somebody may want to own cold chains, or to own a shipping company that focuses on intra-African distribution of goods based on proving cargo, based and so many things. So these opportunities must be taken by corporates for them to really take off. Now, with these two problems solved, we still have that gap with connecting buyers and sellers, because that is the kind of market we need. We want everybody to have a view of the market, sector by sector, country by country. And connecting buyers and sellers, Afreximbank is intervening in different ways. Let me not say I may be surprised, but I think that I expect that a lot of us here would have heard about the Intra-African Trade Fair, for instance. It is the biggest marketplace in the continent. The last that was held in Nigeria is held every 2 years. Deals were made at, I think, about over $48 billion. The next one is in Nigeria. I expect everybody here to attend. We have the African Buyers Program. We have of course, the ATG. These are things we'll have to go into details when we gather at the program. The AfCFTA, this is a program that is targeting all the sub-sovereign governments, in the continent, bringing them together so investments can go to the particular places where they are needed most. Of course, there are a lot of investment promotions and trade and investment promotions that we get involved in. So come to be connected to others is important, to see the platforms that can easily, from the comfort of your office, connect you to markets, to new opportunities. Now, our strategy, like I said at the beginning, is to really create this optimal production capacity in the continent, ease logistics, but when they can connect markets, right? By linking buyers and sellers. But then to do this, we have many interventions. But there is another thing. If you come to this conference, to this training, and there is something we haven't thought about, our job is to take it from you, to design an intervention and to deal with that problem. So even if all your, even if everything here doesn't work for you, we still need you to be part of this, so you can tell us what will work for you. What is the problem you want us to solve? And we will solve it. So my hope is that when we gather next year to do this again, that all the people attending here will be in the pictures and the next slide that we're going to share with the rest of the guys that we'll be talking to. So thank you, Ehosa, back to you. I think this should be my last slide.
All right, thank you, Chidi. That was really quite succinct and to the point. I think it sets the context for the next segment of this webinar, which is on the training program itself, the program design, its objectives, and who should attend. And to take us through, we have Ambassador Mohammed Kada of the AUC. Over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, dear facilitator, and it's a pleasure to join you all. I see that there is a big number of participants, which reflects clear interest in the course. This is good news, I believe, for everyone here. Well, as have been already introduced by the facilitator, I will manage the parts related to the technical content of the course. I speak on behalf of the American University in Cairo School of Business Executive Education, Onsi Sawiris School of Business Executive Education. And just a very quick introduction before we get into the technical dimensions of the course. This is a course being presented, crafted together in partnership between AfCFTA Bank with the biggest champion of trade, finance, and promotion of trade in the continent, backstopping a lot of initiatives related to trade and specifically related to the AfCFTA agreement as a new game changer in the continent, as a game changer that has the potential of changing the landscape of socioeconomic development in the continent, providing a lot of opportunities for a lot of people in the continent. In addition to our close coordination with the AfCFTA Secretariat, which is, of course, the driver's seat of the AfCFTA and its implementation. The American University in Cairo, Onsi School of Business Executive Education, you probably know it already. It has world reputation. It is the best business school in the continent, one of the best business schools worldwide. The contents of the course are focused on they are intended to provide a holistic package to cover all the aspects related to the AfCFTA, because as mentioned before, there is a good deal or a great deal of lack of awareness, lack of knowledge, lack of information about the AfCFTA. There is this gap between policymakers and policy forums and the general public, and in this case specifically, I refer, of course, to private sector entrepreneurs who are the most important stakeholders for the implementation of the agreement. So the objective, the main focus is to cover practical aspects related to the AfCFTA, including, as you will see later on in the slides, operational instruments, practical tools, and so on. The target audience, or the target group in terms of participation in this course, again, I should highlight here the importance, great importance, or critical importance of having private sector entrepreneurs, professionals working for trading companies, import-export companies, business development companies, investment entrepreneurs in the continent. In addition, of course, to civil servants working for ministries and agencies related to or concerned with trade and investment, banking institutions and bankers, and in general terms, all those professionals who have special interest in trading and investment in the continent. Now, going through these slides, and we, of course, are very keen to leave enough space for you for questions and answers. The course, I think, in terms of focus, has already been covered. It has several components, starting with a foundational module, very short and quick one, about regional trade and integration landscape in Africa. Where does the AfCFTA come from? Why did we need an AfCFTA at all? What is the value added of the AfCFTA, and how is it going to coexist with those existing other platforms and institutions in the continent, most importantly, regional economic communities and the free trade areas and customs union and so on. Then moving on to the AfCFTA itself, diving deep into the AfCFTA, unpacking the agreement, the background of it very quickly, but as well the different components, the main act, the different protocols, including goods, services, dispute settlement, and the 5 other protocols on competition, investment, intellectual property rights, digital trade, as well as women and youth in trade. Then moving on to more practical aspects, which is the focus of this course, and then highlighting priority sectors for the development of regional value chains and attracting investment under the agreement. There have been several studies about priority sectors in goods and services, including pharmaceuticals, agro-processing, automobiles, transport, textiles, mining, leather and leather products, health and education, travel. Those are all sectors with potential and potential beneficiation and potential contribution to the agreement itself will be highlighted and covered in some detail based on existing studies, detailed studies that provide scientific evidence and reliable background about these sectors. Then moving on to enabling business environment and operational instruments. There has been a lot of partnerships in order to drive and boost the implementation of the AfCFTA, because an agreement on its own is just text, it's just ink on paper. So you need implementation, and for this purpose, there has been a lot of partnerships involving AfCFTA, the UNECA, the African Union, the American University in Cairo, different other institutions to provide instruments that would help with the implementation of the agreement, including, just to give you some, this will come up probably as well in some detail later on in the presentation. We'll highlight those main tools and instruments, those main operational instruments. Then opportunities and tools for the business community. This will provide some more background about AfCFTA and its platforms that are intended to support trade in the continent and the AfCFTA specifically. It also covers tools that any business entrepreneur would need for marketing strategies and marketing techniques, and this specific segment or part of the course will be delivered by Dr. Sharif Bai, who is a colleague and instructor in the Onsi Sawiris School of Business as well, and he's here with us today. In addition to other tools, including tools related to managing risks related to the implementation of the agreement. This is related to these two last milestones or items specifically. We need to know about trade remedies. What are trade remedies? They are meant to make sure that the trade regime established by the AfCFTA is a fair one. There is enough room for externalities, emergencies, special needs, and there is room for compensation and development support and so on, as well as in terms of investment and investment facilitation and support to investors. Then we'll have a case study, case studies that will provide some practical insights into trade transactions that have already taken place under the AfCFTA, while at the same time marking or highlighting the transition from the guided trade initiative as a platform, which used to be for some time the main platform for the implementation of the agreement, into the wider engagement of private sector stakeholders under the Intra-African trade fair and other platforms intended to engage private sector entrepreneurs and stakeholders and provide them with more awareness and knowledge about the agreement. Then we'll have a final project that is intended to reflect how useful this course was, to interpret its knowledge sharing throughout the course into a practical outcome that can indeed be implemented or can be carried forward for the implementation or making use of the AfCFTA. This probably provides a holistic background about the course, but then we'll still skim through the different slides very quickly. My dear friend Wilfred, if you can walk us through, please. Well, this is in terms of background and the regional integration landscape, with special focus and highlighting on the Abuja Treaty, which is the Magna Carta, let me put it this way, of regional integration in the continent. And then there it's explaining where does the AfCFTA come from, and what is exactly the expected value add from this agreement, and how it is expected to coexist with other existing institutions and platforms, please. Then we'll need, of course, as we go through the course, to highlight the Agenda 2063 and its 7 aspirations or 7 moonshots, because it's all under the Pan-African umbrella that the AfCFTA and other flagship projects in the continent, and they all serve the implementation or the achievement of these 7 aspirations you see on the screen here, or 7 moonshots, as some people like to call. Please, can we move on?
Imagine a continent filled with limitless possibilities, where every African can realize their full potential. With the implementation of the continent-wide transformative flagship project of Agenda 2063, we can achieve this goal. An integrated high-speed train network that connects African countries so that we can travel and transport goods with ease across the continent. A continental strategy for Africa's commodities that ensures a collaborative process in developing and managing the continent's natural resources for all Africans. The world's largest trading zone in the African Continental Free Trade Area, which promotes trade within Africa and with the world. The African passport and the removal of restrictions through the free movement of persons, allowing Africans to travel, work, conduct business and live anywhere within their continent. A peaceful Africa where all guns are silenced. The Grand Inga Dam project will provide affordable and clean electricity. Improved and affordable air travel through a single African air transport market, SAATM, that connects African cities. An annual African Economic Forum that brings together great African minds to develop strategies to harness the continent's vast resources to the benefit of Africans. The establishment of the African financial institutions that promote economic integration and the transparent mobilization of resources to promote economic development. The Great African Museum will preserve and promote our cultural heritage and celebrate Africa's influence on the cultures of the world. Promoting cybersecurity that protects our data so there is safety online and ensures that emerging technologies are used for the benefit of Africans. An African virtual and e-university that provides access to the highest quality tertiary and continuing education to Africans anywhere in the world. A Pan-African e-network for innovative e-applications and services that will transform Africa into an e-society. An African outer space strategy that bolsters economic development across all sectors and positions Africa as a regional market for space products and services. And the Encyclopedia Africana, which will document and celebrate Africa's history, culture, and the contributions of African people throughout the world. Let us unite to build the Africa we want. Visit www.au.int to learn more about Agenda 2063.
Well, now in terms of the specific course components and significance of the AfCFTA, we all probably already know that it is a landmark agreement, unprecedented in the continent, has 54 countries so far party to the agreement. It is considered the biggest AfCFTA, the biggest free trade area agreement in the world in terms of number of countries. It has, of course, a collective or aggregate GDP in the continent of around $3 trillion, around 1.5 billion human beings, and the biggest, as I mentioned, free trade area in the world in terms of number of participating or party signatory countries. Yes, please, can we move on? And then in terms of unpacking, we've already covered these items, but this is meant to provide some further detail on the first slide about the different components of the course. Unpacking the AfCFTA will cover the legal instruments, the main act and different protocols, the institutional structure, the negotiating structure that is meant to deliver the remaining protocols and annexes and appendices, as well as the implementation status in terms of trading goods, trading services, and the different other protocols. Yes, please. Then in terms of assessment of priority sectors, I did already provide some background about high priority areas, high priority sectors, including those related to pharmaceuticals, automobiles, agro-processing, and transport, in addition to other priority sectors based on studies and in-depth analyses undertaken by different institutions, including the World Bank and UNECA. Yes, please. Can we move on? Then, in terms of operational instruments, those are the instruments that have been developed in partnership between Afreximbank, the AfCFTA, UNECA, the African Union, and so on, and are meant to drive the implementation of the agreement. Examples of this and the main highlights of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, BAPS, under the Afreximbank supervision, the non-tariff barriers mechanism, as you can see here, trade adjustment fund, and this is closely related to trade remedies. It's meant to support those countries that are more vulnerable to predatory trade practices, have special circumstances, special needs. The automotive fund, which was meant to support the resolution of the stalemate on rules of origin related to automobiles, and provides also developmental support to this important sector. Tariff books and rules of origin manual, and this is available online on the AfCFTA website. You can access it. It's open source. The African Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme, because a lot of our countries are landlocked or land-linked. Transit guarantees, custom transit guarantees are particularly important in our continent to facilitate trade. These are the main highlight operational instruments. Can we please move on? Then tools for the business community. I already did mention Afreximbank tools, including the African Trade Gateway and other tools for the business community, but we'll also highlight in some detail the African Trade Observatory, which provides a lot of information about opportunities in terms of trade in the continent. What are the markets? What are the compliance requirements? The rules of origin requirements, the trade preferences that the agreement provides already for different sectors and products and commodities, in addition to other related platforms and applications, including the ITC, the International Trade Center, Trade Map, and other platforms under the International Trade Center. There is, let me highlight here, a lot of data available on these platforms. Still, there is a lot of gaps in terms of data availability and need for probably further consolidation of these platforms in order to provide more coverage of the different opportunities and sectors of priority. Please, can we move on? Then I did already mention that this is the part to be covered by Dr. Sharif Bey about market risk analysis, techniques, and marketing strategies. Please, can we move on? Then, and these are the main highlights of Afreximbank support mechanisms. TRADAR, MANSA, the ATIC, the African Trade Gateway, and of course, there will be a detailed presentation on these platforms and how different participants can make use of them. Can we please move on? Then we'll highlight the transition from the Guided Trade Initiative, which was meant to boost the knowledge and awareness about the agreement at the beginning, to provide like a proof of concept to start with for different entrepreneurs to try the agreement and do trade under the agreement. Now we're moving into the wider sphere of private sector engagement using other platforms, including the Intra-African Trade Fair, the Biashara Africa Business Forum, and the already established export trading companies in several member states. Yes, please, can we move on? And this brings me to the end, but before I close and hand over to my dear brother Yoza, I would like just to leave you with this important takeaway. I do work on trade in the continent. This is my bread and butter, and I tell you very honestly that this is a unique course. This is a very useful course. If you can afford it, please go ahead for it. It will provide you with a lot of value added in terms of trading and your business encounters and transactions in the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, Ambassador.
That was really quite instructive. Thank you, because I know you're still available to provide responses to questions that have already started coming in about the training, and to provide more details about some of the things that you've talked about in your slides. Okay, without further ado, we'll go into the next section, which talks about, which will focus on testimonial from someone who participated in the last edition of this capacity building program, and that's in the presence of Mr. Camille Olufowobi. So let me start by, first of all, thank you, Camille, for being part of this webinar and agreeing to share your experience with the over 200 participants who have joined this webinar this afternoon. So maybe we should start off by introducing yourself to us briefly, so that the corporates who are here can appreciate what you, who you are and what you do. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Jose, for having me. And it's good to see the faculty, Ambassador Kader, the people who trained us. Good to see some familiar faces. Thank you. Hi, Ambassador. Hi, everybody. My name is Camille Olufowobi, and it is a privilege to be here. At the time when I joined the training, I was the advisor to the Minister of Trade in Nigeria. And the reason why, what motivated me to join, the course was I was wearing two hats. I was a government official and I was a businessman. And on the government side, we were telling everybody that, AfCFTA, works, Africa is open for business. And on the corporate side, we were not seeing the dividends of this, trade policy. So I took it on and I attended the class as a businessman because I wanted to understand where the money was. So this was my motivation. And I was so grateful that I did attend, the class. It was, it took us from theory to, reality, right? Like Ambassador, mentioned earlier, you understand what the different trade blocks are, from ECOWAS to COMASA to SADC. So you understand how to enjoy the dividends of the free trade zone across, across Africa. The course, what stood out for me, most importantly for everybody here from across Africa, is I met people from across Africa, and we were able to work with people in different trade zones. So people from Egypt, people from Gambia, people from Mozambique. I had people from Ghana in my class. So when we were building our plan, our presentation in my group, we had people from different parts of Africa, right, that we were working with. So we shifted from theory to actual tools, real tangible tools, like PAPS, for example, which, would help, and trade facilitation tools that removes barriers, around financing, transportation, enhancing trade across Africa. So, Jose, to answer your question, I was, I came in to the class, because of government was telling people it worked, but corporate was saying it wasn't working. So I came in to actually check, and the course helped me understand where the opportunities lied for the corporate and private sector in Africa.
Thank you, Camille. That's really quite interesting. The perspective you shared, that you're actually wearing two hats, on the government side as well as on the private or corporate side, which makes the perspectives you share here really quite quite interesting. I'm sure it's valuable for other participants as well. So something you alluded to, you're in Abuja for the last edition. There were 3 days of in-person sessions, and then these were followed by what you talked about, the detailed follow-up sessions after that in-person session over the next few months following the training, where you interacted with people from across Africa. What would you say were the key takeaways from that experience? And also, how did that add value to you and to your work post the training program?
Absolutely. Great question, Ahosa. And to everybody listening, Africa is a 3.4 trillion market opportunity, right? So there is money here. It just needs to be understood and activated, especially by the private sector. So one of the biggest things that I learned is that government has done their part. The policy is in place now. It is for us, in the private sector to begin to move across Africa, not just within your existing, ECOWAS or SADC or COMESA, but across board. And understand that, you have a consumer base of over 1.5 billion people. I want you to think about that you have the ability to actually take a product, especially if you're doing well in your country, to expand across Africa. So this, for me, was the biggest takeaway, that it is real. The opportunity is real. I can't say it enough. And it is time for the private sector, and this is the appeal, is for the private sector to lean into this, because we are the ones who would actualize it, while government have done, the theory and the rules, the regulations, the policy. But the actual movement of goods, the actual movement of people will be led by the private sector. The next set of African billionaires will be created by the AfCFTA. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kami. Very, very, very inspiring. To just close off this segment of this webinar, I think just drop one last word on to the corporates, the businesses, the owners and founders, even some government officials. I've seen some drop comments already in the chat box. Why would you recommend this program to them, so that they can go register and participate in this program?
It goes to wants to get me in trouble with government officials. But government officials, we need to actually, to be fair, to be honest, every government official who is in trade, in investment across Africa, we need to participate. We need to know what we're telling people. I think that's why I did it. I wanted to be true to what we were communicating to Africans, and in Africa and in the diaspora. And to the private sector, I can't say this enough. This is the time for you to look beyond your existing markets and expand across Africa. The opportunity is waiting for us. And the best part of this class for me is that I got to meet people from across Africa. That was so important to begin to do business, and for us to look inward to drive intra-Africa trade. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Camille. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So we'll move on to the next section of this, which is the Q&A. Questions have been coming in, and I know a few people have their hands up. So what we'll do, we'll take in the questions that have already been shared with us, and hopefully we'll have time to take one or two who have currently raised their hands in this webinar. So the first question, or the first set of questions, I think it makes sense to bunch these questions together. I would like to direct them to Ambassador Carter, or and if there are other members of the AUC team here who are part of the design of the program who can answer, please feel free to direct it to them. Well, the first couple of questions. First, we have a question on rules of origin and processing. rather it talks about, this question was originally sent in French, but has been translated for me. It said that the organization is currently involved in the export of agricultural products, including raw commodities and so on, and they would like to understand whether the training will deal with specific AfCFTA provisions that are in place to certify the origin of locally processed agricultural products that will facilitate access to regional markets. That's question number one. Then question number two, they're asking whether the program itself will address the practical solutions to ease trade flows between landlocked countries and sub-regional seaports, particularly with respect to transport, customs procedures, and logistics coordination. Over to you, Ambassador Kada.
Thank you very much. Well, in terms of rules of origin, one of the operational instruments that I referred to in the presentation is the e-tariff book and rules of origin manual. This is a public source, like it's available on the AfCFTA website. You just need to the sister or brother who made this question just needs to go to this website and tap into the e-tariff book and rules of origin manual to get detailed information about any specific agricultural product or any other product that is a product of interest to trade under the AfCFTA agreement. And this is one of the advantages of the agreement. It makes available all background information related to trading under the agreement. And then rules of origin have been finalized. The only sticking point so far is a transition in terms of textiles. So this is not really related or does not affect trading in agricultural products, which is your area of interest specifically. Now, there is also a lot of other sources and platforms, online platforms that provide also detailed information about the rules of origin and the tariff treatment under the agreement to ensure that there is compliance with the agreement, with the requirements of the agreement in order to benefit from the trade preferences arranged or provided by the agreement. In terms of transport and logistics, of course, this is a big challenge. We all know that this is transport, logistics are a big challenge in the continent because our continent still lacks connectivity between its different parts. Especially, this is very strongly felt in landlocked or land-linked countries. But then the AfCFTA and different other institutions, including RACs, the African Union, and different developmental financial institutions as well, are on top of this because it's not a novelty. We all know that this is challenging, and without easing the transport and logistics throughout the continent, we should not expect much to come from the implementation of the agreement. And this is why the AfCFTA Secretariat itself is interested in investing heavily in transport corridors, what we call transport corridors. Those are corridors, there are corridors that already exist, and there are corridors that are being developed in order to help those landlocked or land-linked countries do more trade and benefit more from the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. There's another question which I would like to direct to Mr. Chidi Leka. The question is, will the training provide detailed guidance on the eligibility criteria for producer groups and corporates who are seeking to access AfCFTA trade financing facilities for intra-African trade? Okay, while Mr. Leka comes on, I'll just repeat the question, whether the question is, will the training and this access to AfCFTA financing is asking if the training will provide detailed guidance on what the eligibility criteria is for producer groups and for cooperatives who are seeking to access AfCFTA trade financing facilities under the AfCFTA framework. Okay, I think I would just like to Simeon? Okay, yes, Mr. Balogun.
Okay, yes, thank you, Egosa. Speaking to that particular question, yes, there will be a session that will be focused on Afreximbank trade finance solutions. As Chidi presented earlier on, he alluded to a number of instruments, both financing instruments and non-financial instruments that Afreximbank has deployed towards realizing the benefits that AfCFTA presents. This will be extensively covered right during the session. So we're also going to discuss details about the eligibility criteria for some of the trade finance solutions of Afreximbank, and all the funding opportunities that Afreximbank can make available to everyone in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simeon Balogun. Okay, there's another question, and this deals with tools and framework. I would like to invite my colleague Mr. Wilfred Tejumbowi to answer this. It says, can the training deliver a simplified step-by-step decision matrix or digital tool that helps small agro-processors within Africa? This person, I believe the person is in Accra, and is also a textile maker. It says, can the training deliver the decision matrix or decision tool or digital tool, to support businesses in these sectors? And then there's a wider question, say, can the training also demystify AfCFTA adjusted trade finance products similar to Afreximbank's PAPS? Okay, that's a Pan-African payment settlement system, in a way that an MSME can, with no dedicated finance officer, actually apply after completing the course. Over to you, Wilfred.
Okay, thank you, Egyosa. Yes, part of this training will be focusing on the Afreximbank digital ecosystem, the ATG, where we provide services that address the specific issues you mentioned. We'll be covering the trade intelligence component that will help you to identify opportunities, but also to understand the market access condition to the market, so that you can have your checklist to know how you can penetrate a specific market. We'll also cover the trust issue under the due diligence component of the ecosystem, to enable the traders to be sure that they can trust any company they are looking to trade with. We'll be addressing as well the e-commerce side, to make it possible for you to connect with other buyers in the continent. So we'll address all that under the section related to ATG, the supporting mechanism put in place by the bank. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jejumbowi. Now we have another question here on non-tariff barriers. I would like to direct this to Ambassador Kada. And the question is, will participants receive practical non-tariff barriers pathway, for example, direct reporting links to national AfCFTA coordination units or AfCFTA secretariats, NTP mechanism? So Ambassador or any member of the team could please respond to this. Yes.
Yes, well, non-tariff barriers are very important, extremely important for trading in the continent. And the question is definitely in order, of course. And yeah, indeed, the course will cover challenges related to non-tariff barriers, providing also practical information and advice to the participants on the platforms that already exist. Whether it is under the AfCFTA, the new platform developed under the AfCFTA, or the existing ones already, especially that tripartite non-tariff barriers mechanism, which connects regional institutions to national focal points. And then, of course, this is also an online platform that participants can access, provided that they would have the credentials. But of course, we can help with that, and definitely the course will provide sufficient background information and support in this very important area. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Kada. Before we take questions from those who are raising their hands, I know there have been several questions around translation for this webinar and also for the training. Just want to reiterate again that for this webinar, there's no translation into French, but during the training itself, as my colleague, Mr. Senor Walogo, will reiterate during the closing remarks, the training will be delivered in English and in French, just so that you take note of that. And as well as Arabic, yes, English, French, and Arabic. Okay, so what we'll do, there are a few people who have raised their hands, so we'll quickly take all the 3 questions. Oh, I see there are 4 now. So we'll take all 4 questions together, and once we do that, we'll round off this session. Okay, so please, let me call on Salif Batley. If you unmute your mic. Okay, maybe we'll move on to Lucy. I don't think Salif was able to unmute his mic there. Lucy, if you can unmute your mic and quickly ask your question. Okay, it seems like there may be some technical hitches. Okay, let me assure everyone that if you have questions, you can put it in the Q&A. We'll provide responses to them. Some of the questions I've seen there have already been addressed on rules of origin, on non-tariff barriers, on the logistics. Okay, I don't think we have, but I believe that during the closing remarks, we'll have more details around the logistics for the training. But I assure you that we'll provide responses to this, and we'll send the communication as well as the presentation slides to all participants in this webinar. So be assured you will receive that. So thank you for your questions. What we'll do now, we'll move on to the closing section or segment of this webinar. Let me hand over to Mr. Simeon Balogun.
Okay, thank you so much, Igilsa. Right, and thank you, everyone. I think my work here today is simple. It's essentially just to close out the session and essentially to provide a call to action. So thank you all for attending this session and for the contribution that you've provided, right, during the course of this conversation. I mean, let me just emphasize what Ambassador Keda earlier mentioned. Unlocking full potential of AfCFTA, it requires more than awareness. It requires the right capabilities, a strong understanding of market dynamics, and the ability to navigate regulatory, operational, and trade complexities. The AfCFTA training has been carefully curated to address these needs by equipping participants with the right skills and the tools to enable you support your market entry and expansion in Africa. We are inviting you to take the next step by registering for this program, right? And the program, again, will be taking place from 16th to 18th of June, 2026. The cost of the training is $1,500. However, we are offering early bird discounts, which is at a fee of $1,200. And these early bird discounts will be expiring on the 15th of May. So I will advise everyone to quickly take advantage of this window of opportunities that you have. Take advantage of these discounts that is available. It's also important to emphasize the fact that we also have partnership with a number of hotels, right, in Egypt, where we've been able to get some discounts with respect to accommodation and other logistics arrangements. So please feel free to reach out to us at trade.intelligence@afrieximbank.com for questions about this, and so that we can also provide a corporate rate that we've been able to negotiate with some of these hotels to you, right? I mean, so that you can take advantage of these of these discounts from the hotels. If you have any other question, please feel free to reach out to us and send it directly to us in writing. And it's one thing that I also want to emphasize is at the end of this program, we're also going to send a detailed FAQ, which comprises of all the questions that we've answered and the ones that we're unable to answer right on the Q&A log of the Zoom. But we're going to provide a detailed response to all the questions, and we share it to all the participants today. So I invite everyone to register for this program. The program is going to be insightful, going to be beneficial, and it's going to provide the required practical skills for you to be able to trade effectively in Africa and realize the opportunity that the AfCFTA presents. Thank you once again for participation in this webinar and for your continued interest in this program. And we look forward to welcoming you in Cairo and to supporting your journey as you successfully expand and compete across African markets. Shukran.
Thank you, Mr. Simeon Balogun.
Yeah.
Yes, and distinguished participants, that is the end of this webinar. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to seeing you in Cairo. Yes, we look forward to seeing you in Cairo in June.
I think Ms. Marwa wants to add something, please.
Okay. Please go ahead.
Myself? No, I was just sending the link for the brochure and the registration and stuff like that. I didn't raise my hand.
Sorry, Miss Lucy was raising a hand here.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Engineer Baki.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Everyone.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you.
Thank you, and bye-bye all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.